Guys, welcome to our little video here at the Food and Wine Expo in Perth, and we're about to present the 7th Art Masterclass.
Food and wine matching has been something that you can control, is really limited to just trying to pick this right wine with the food. There's not a lot that you can do with it, but the idea of cocktail and food matching really kind of opens up Pandora's box about what you can do. You get to control colour, control temperature, control taste, flavour, aroma, all those kinds of stuff over and above that you can with wine. And now the wine guys, there's a lot here, they'll say no, only drink wine with food. You can't have cocktails. Cocktails are those things that you have in the morning or in the afternoon or something like that. Don't eat them with food. Don't drink them with food. But we're here today not to kind of play hard and fast with that mantra, but maybe just tease you with the idea that maybe next time you're sitting down at a dinner party and you're entertaining friends, maybe put down that bottle of wine and pick up that cocktail shaker and see if you can get a great match happening. So for the third and final drink, we thought we'd try and use a food idea and a concept that really, up until now, has had no place in cocktails. And for that, we turned to an unsung hero of the snack world, good old-fashioned popcorn. So popcorn, to me, it's fascinating. It's cheap, easily available. You can get it from the world over, but it's one of those things that, like certain food stuffs, it's kind of instinctively just like tied to a memory. For me, and I'm not sure about you guys, as soon as I smell, just even just smell or see popcorn, some part of my brain reminds me of the movies, going to the movies and sitting there with popcorn and kind of being entertained and relaxed and look, thankfully it's not just me. Food scientists tell us that smells and sights trigger subconscious memories and even without us knowing, remind us of certain events over and above of just being told about them. So I wanted to turn to popcorn and try and use that as that reminder of the movies and the idea of being entertained. And I had the ability to create a recipe that would challenge for the right to be the next Bacardi Legacy cocktail. So Bacardi Legacy is a global cocktail competition. It's kind of like our version of our Oscars. It's the big one, the one that everyone wants to win. But they challenge you to create a drink with Bacardi and a real simple but elegant cocktail that will hopefully one day maybe sit alongside the daiquiri and the mojito. And look, I'm not saying that my cocktail is going to do that, but it's an interesting idea for me, and it's an idea that's tied with popcorn, and it focuses on not just food and cocktails, but the idea that there is more to cocktails than just what's in the glass. It's the idea behind them as well. So I wanted a drink that kind of tasted like popcorn, so when it came out, even before you tasted it, there was some small part of your brain that went, yeah, look, I remember the last time I went to the movies, or the first time I plucked up the courage to invite a date out, or that kind of thing. I was telling this story to the Bacardi head honchos in Sydney last week, and inadvertently got lost in my tale and described for them the moment that Mum and Dad took my brother and sister. For me, the first time I went to the movies, and we went and saw The Little Mermaid, and it came out so quick, that story, that I didn't have a chance to kind of pull back the story and make it sound like it was Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs or something cool. But look, that's the story, and I suppose I've got to own it. But I've chosen popcorn for another reason as well. Popcorn is, by its very nature, just a flavour delivery vehicle. These funny little kernels are covered with buttery, salty, sweet umami flavours that, as human beings, we're all hardwired to crave. Butter, salt, sweet, who doesn't enjoy that? But they're trapped in these kind of little kernels, and that's why we kind of sit in front of screens and then shuffle them in like mindless zombies, because we are just hardwired to enjoy them. So to use in a cocktail, we're using it the same way that we did coriander for the coriander fizz. We've combined it directly into the shaker. We haven't done an infusion or anything like that. It's directly into the shaker. And when we combine the liquids, we almost kind of create a turbo fat wash. In bartender circles, fat washing is pretty trendy.
It's very trendy. I think prosciutto fat washing, some bourbons and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Now I thought fat washing was having a couple of Big Macs before a shift, but it's not. It involves kind of getting a fat, and it can be a bacon fat, or as Pete's doing at the bar, a prosciutto fat, a fat from an oil like peanut oil, or even vegetable oils or olive oils, and kind of combining them with liquids. And the idea is you kind of leach out those delicious oily flavors without oil being in there. But the problem is with fat washing, it takes so long. It takes half a week to do. You got to combine them. We're going to get the oil, extract the oil, combine it with the spirit, freeze the liquid, skim off the solids, do it again, put it back in the freezer. It takes too long. And I thought, I don't have half a week to make you a cocktail. I only have 30 seconds. So create a turbo fat wash. So when the popcorn goes into the shaker, what it does is it gets pulverized. It's kind of like being in a delicious alcoholic dishwasher, and it turns that into smaller, finer particles, and it breaks up. All we're doing is we're increasing the surface area of the poor old kernel of popcorn, and we're extracting all of those delicious umami, salty, buttery flavors out of it. Basically, we're getting more popcorn flavor into the drink than we possibly can. We're also using a standard bartender unit of measurement, a rough handful. If you're making this drink at home, just focus on the guide of a handful of popcorn per drink. But buttery and salty flavors can be kind of personal. So feel free to please use more than that if you like. There really is no right answer. But for today's demonstration, we're using a handful of popcorn. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, my drink kind of follows the blueprint of a classic sour, kind of like a daiquiri. It's balanced out with a little bit of lemon for tang, a little bit of sugar, and it's got a hint of yellow chartreuse in there as well. Chartreuse gets a bad rap, kind of like sambuca. People go, oh, chartreuse, I'm gonna die, surely. But that's true of the green chartreuse, definitely. But yellow chartreuse is that kind of, it's the Snow White of French Alpine liqueurs. It's delicious. It's sweetened with honey and saffron, two ingredients that really go hand in hand with popcorn as well. If anyone's had kind of saffron popcorn, it's delicious. So that's the heart and soul of my drink, and of course Bacardi. Thank you, Bacardi, for letting us present this drink to you. We focused on Bacardi not just because it's a delicious, clean, crisp, slightly vanilla-y rum, but it's also like popcorn, available the world over. So if you're in a sultry summer sweaty bar in Acapulco or a high-end cocktail bar in New York, you're probably going to find Bacardi behind the back bar, and if they don't have peanuts on the bar top, they're going to have popcorn as well. Popcorn is that kind of clever bar owner device that you sit there and eat it and kind of get convinced to buy a second or third or 11th cocktail. So that's the ingredients, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully when the drink comes out, you smell this kind of vague memory of popcorn, and it finishes kind of lightly salty and sweet, but begs you for another sip, just like popcorn. And finally, before I go, the idea, well, the name, the drink is called the Seventh Art, ladies and gentlemen. We'll finish on the name because, when we were creating this cocktail, we really wanted to focus on this being a concept. A couple of decades ago, an Italian theologian kind of said that, look, up until now, this point of history, there were 6 classic art forms that made human beings what we are, separates us from the beasts. There's dance, philosophy, poetry, music, architecture, that kind of thing. He said there were 6. But at that point, cinema, the idea of going to the movies, producing movies, had become more important than just joining bunches of photographs together. But it becomes something that was really important. And he said cinema should be considered the 7th of the human art forms. I really like that story. So to tie back in with the idea that popcorn reminding us of going to the movies, whether it's Little Mermaid or not, we hope you enjoy the 7th art.